Hey everyone, my name is Discourse and welcome to another video for the Batman Miniatures game. Today we're going to be going through the remaining June releases for the Batman Miniatures game for the Penguin release set. I've gone through most of the new models yesterday or the day before. There's a link in the description of the video below. You can check that out. You can see the previous ones where I go through the Penguin Associates, Emperor Penguin, as well as Signal Man too, of course. Now, with today, we're going to go for the Peguin Reinforcements. And we're also going to look at some of the new boxes for the Penguin. There is a new sort of Crime Lord box. As well as that, we're also going to look at the big base Penguin too, because he has indeed had some traits changed, I believe. So we're going to have a look through some of that. Some of it is going to be old, but some of it will definitely be new. So without further ado, let's go through that. The first that we have is the Peguin Reinforcements Pack. You can see these guys are the street demons. Right now, in terms of the the images here, it looks like they are CGI'd rather than actual models, so they haven't been painted or anything like that. But here we go. We've got this big fella here with an axe and a stop sign. This is this guy is the real Signal Man, okay? And then we have this street demon on a bike here with a looks like an automatic gun, so we expect to see some shooting from these guys. So obviously, this fits in with the theme of the sort of biker gang the Penguin has, and he also already had a box that has 2 bikers in it, so I'm gonna guess this is gonna be like the 3rd biker, basically. So let's have a look at their stats now. But before I do, actually, I just want to raise this point. You can see here that orders for this product will be shipped starting July 16th. So they are giving it a date of July 16th. And hopefully then what that means is that we will see these releases. That's good to have a certain date, so July 16th is when we can expect those to be sent out. Okay, so first things first, we have Street Demons Biker 3 here. He's Surge Darky Powers. That is a very problematic name, and if no one at Night Models can see that, I have. Okay, so you can see here he's on a 42 by 75 millimeter, so that's basically kind of like the oval one that the vehicles sometimes go on. There's no image for the character here, but this is the guy on the bike. He is a henchman, and he's 32 reputation and $300. He has 5 willpower and 6 endurance, 3 attack, 3 defense, 5 plus strength, as well as a 10-inch of movement. He also comes with the custom automatic gun with a short range there. He's got the firearm trait, of course. The gun itself is light, so he can always shoot when he's in base contact with an enemy model, and it's got red dot there, which allows him to reroll up to 1 failed attack die roll when performing a ranged attack. It deals a bloodstone, so that's not great, but it's like a standard pistol really. And then he has fast, of course, which gives him +2 to his basic move distance. He has greed as well, and I think this is the same for all of the bikers. They all have the greed trait. Basically prevents them from scoring any cards that require the hockey pads, armor, and that prevents the sharp special rule from keying off them. Finally, he also has instinctive shooting as well. So in a round in which this trait is activated, this model's ranged attack don't lose dice for moving before attacking. So he's encouraged to basically drive around on his bicycle. So that makes sense. He's got Mobster too, which is a really nice keyword. A lot of bikers seem to have it in the game. When he attacks an outnumbered model in close combat, he rolls an additional attack die, which is good because he's so mobile that he'll be able to actually get that off a lot of the time. He has Mechanical Mount, which gives him +4 to his move distance. That's the motorcycle coming into play there. And then finally, he has Always on the Move. That basically allows him to move and then shoot and attack and then continue to move. So that's really good for a biker, especially, he's got 16 inches of movement really overall. So that's a really, really fast model. He'll be able to move around and get into melee with someone, get that mobster attack off, punch them and then drive off again. So that's good. The only problem with him is that he doesn't have any sort of melee weapon. He's just got this pistol. So that's okay. I'm not really super impressed by this guy, to be honest. He's basically just a running, gun that's very mobile. Now, that said, I am aware that Penguin does have quite a bit of territory control on his deck, so that will be kind of useful to have the mobility, but I'm not sure whether or not you'd want to take this guy over any of the other bikers that Penguin already has in his roster. He's okay. I'm not super impressed by him. I think instinctive shooting is the nicest thing that he brings, so he'll be able to get his gun off, but, aside from that, nothing too special. And then we have Street Demons 4. This is Iron Drum Killer Taylor. He's a 40mm base. He's got the henchman rank. He's, of course, affiliation with the Penguin. He's got 29 reputation, so this is the guy with the axe and the stop sign there, the real Signal Man. And he has 5 willpower, 6 endurance, 3 attack, 3 defense. He's got a 4+ strength die, 8 inches of movement. which is okay. He's a bit slow on it. He's got a shield, which gives him protective. That allows him to get +1 to his defense rolls, which is nice, and he always benefits from cover, and that's really, really good. So apparently that stop sign is very strong at stopping bullets. He has an axe as well, which is handy and heavy, and double blood. And handy, of course, allows you to re-roll your failed attack dice rolls, and heavy gives you +1 to your strength die rolls. So that's a really nice weapon. I really like that. It's got bluff as well. This allows him to reduce the enemy model's attacks by 1 until the end of the round. So that's pretty good. It sort of frustrates your opponent a little bit, you know, makes a very killy model otherwise less killy. And then he's got Hardened too, which allows him, whenever he suffers damage, he can basically choose the damage type. He can change it to, you know, stun if he took blood, and then if he took blood, he can change that to stun. So that's pretty good. He's got the biker jacket too, so, you know, your knives aren't going to work on this guy. He's just too big. And then finally, he has Mobster as well. So that allows him to get an additional die whenever he is outnumbering an opponent. So really, this guy, I like this guy. This guy basically, he's not doing anything too crazy. He's not that strong, but he's not that weak either. He's okay. The axe is really nice. I think a handy heavy weapon is like probably one of the best weapons you can have in the game. Double blood is a really nice damage profile, so he's pretty good. I like this guy. I think I'll probably end up taking this guy more so than the other biker, to be honest. And of course, obviously protective gives him that +1 on his defense roll, so he's not that weak. He is fairly tanky enough, even with only the 3 defense there. So next up, we have the Penguin, and you can see he comes with 3 Penguin models, as well as the big vehicle, the Duck, as well. Of course, they're giving him the 60mm base if he chooses to take that equipment. And then he has these 3 penguins. There's one with a minigun, one with a rocket, and then one that explodes. I believe that one does. It kills itself. So the designs of these are based on the sort of Burton kind of penguin, although the penguin himself, the penguin model, is more of a sort of classic comic-y version of the penguin. So a little bit of a mixture between all the different worlds here, but that's fine. So obviously this model himself, he was originally in the Penguin the Crime Lord box set, which was a 2nd edition box set in the old resin. This model was in that box. Now it's been taken out of that box and it's being sold separately for £38, very similar to the other previous big base bosses that we've seen in previous editions, or rather in previous releases. So we've got the Joker, Black Mask, things like that. So now the Penguin's getting the same treatment. That said, there is a new box that's not the Crime Lord, that comes with a whole host of Penguin crew members. They have all been split off from this guy, from this version of the Penguin, and they are in a different box that we will go over after we go over the Penguin. This Penguin model hasn't changed at all, as far as I'm aware, except for a few things. So the actual mechanics for these Penguin models has changed. So here we are. This is the Penguin character sheet here. We've got the Penguin. He's Oswald Chesterfield Cobblepot, 30mm. His rank, of course, is the leader. He is affiliated with the Penguin, of course. He's 74 reputation, so he's always been a little bit of a cheaper boss. Got 7 willpower, 7 endurance, 3 attack, 3 defense, 5+ strength die, and 8 inches of movement there. So there is nothing that has changed, though. Just the Penguin color trait there is what you'll see. Now he's got the Umbrella Blade, which is a double blood sharp weapon, which is good. He's got the Umbrella Cannon, which is a triple blood single rate of fire, 2 ammo firearm traded weapon. It has protective as well, so it gives him the +1 to his defense dice rolls, just like the previous Penguin henchman with the signal sign, with the stop sign rather. And as well, he always gets cover. And then finally, his weapon is 8 inches in terms of the range. Then he has Charismatic, which allows him to recruit 1 additional model with the free agent rank, ignoring the usual restrictions. So that can be really handy sometimes. Then he has Handyman 2, which allows him to make an extra manipulate during his activation, and he can use that to remove up to 2 damage from a vehicle. And that's really handy because obviously his dock car is like a vehicle, right? So he's going to want to remove damage off that if he wants to keep that around. He also has Lord of Business, which gives him an extra $500 in funding stash, and also gives him like an added bonus with the valuable commodities card, which is really nice. Just nice wee bonus there. Obviously, the funding money is really good because the Penguin equipment list is very expensive. He has the mob as well, which allows them to give a mobster the ability to attack with a ranged weapon or move 4 inches and then attack with a melee weapon. So we've seen Black Mask with this previously before. Penguin has it as well. It's a very, very strong trait. And then he has Small, which gives him +1 defense against enemy ranged attacks. And then he has Underworld King. We saw this yesterday with Emperor Penguin. Basically, whenever you take this model into your crew, you can have a side deck of up to 4 objective cards, and then you can basically use the resource side of those objective cards, and you can spend business counters in order to use the resources on those side cards. And business counters are basically a mechanic that are specific to the Penguin. You'll see those in his deck. That's a really nice ability. There's some really good resources out there with cards that you maybe don't want to take the actual objectives into your deck. So the resources are really good, but maybe the objectives aren't that great. There's cards like Valuable Commodities, which while it does have a good objective side, and the resource is really valuable. So if you want to go for a full Penguin deck and then throw in valuable commodities as your side deck, that would be a really good pick. And there's plenty of others as well. And then he also has Dealer, which allows him to discard up to 3 cards from his objective hand whenever he activates. And then for each card that he doesn't discard, he gains 1 business counter. So that's really, really good. He basically, whenever you activate the Penguin, then you're gaining 3 business counters unless you discard cards. And discarding cards in this game is really, really good. It's actually really valuable to be able to discard cards, because sometimes you have cards in your hand, you can't play, right? You can't score it. So being able to cycle through your deck is very, very important. And so knowing the Penguin can do that is really, really good. Then we have the Iceberg Lounge, and allows him to purchase 1 additional equipment from the Iceberg Lounge list. And I think that's where the Fear gas dispenser is actually found, as well as the Freeze Ray as well from Mr. Freeze. So Iceberg Lounge, of course, is the sort of hideout of the Penguin. It's his nightclub where he does all his dirty dealings. So very good. This is his connection to Gotham's Underworld. And then finally we have Penguin Collar, and Penguin Collar did indeed change completely. So this is really screwed around with the Penguin sort of mechanics. Now you can spend an action to perform an action with a friendly model with the expendable Penguin trait. So that's all your penguins basically. And then when you place a suspect, you can spend a business counter. I can see there's a little bit of a typo, but you can basically spend a business counter to bring back a previously removed model with the expendable penguin trait. So, and then you have to remove that suspect marker, of course. And then you can have up to 3 of each penguin in the gaming area at the same time. So penguin are really, really strong. They're really, really good, actually. They're expendable, they're utterly expendable. They're very cheap models. And then you can bring them, and then you can only basically take actions with them during the penguin's turn. The penguin's turn with the umbrella, not the actual bird. So, you know, they're very, very good. And you can basically use the penguin, to force your penguins to shoot their minigun, their rocket, and then explode right on your opponent. So I'm a big fan of that. I really like the penguins. I think it's very, very fun. It's very, very kooky, but in a very good way, right? In a very sort of twisted and macabre way. It looks like that's the only things really that have changed for the penguin. He's probably worth picking up, honestly, with these stats. He seems to be a very, very good boss, but there is another version of the penguin in the next box set, so let's go into that now. And that is here. This is the Penguin Underworld King box, and you can see here that we have a whole host of penguin goons and gangsters here. So first of all, we've got Penguin in the middle. This is Penguin from Arkham Knight. I was helpfully informed by Nimweb in the comments of my previous video. They let me know that this is from Arkham Knight specifically. So obviously it's the same kind of version of the Penguin that comes from Arkham City and Arkham Origins as well. That, you know, they're all canonical to one another. There's some characters here as well that Nim let me know are from Arkham Origins. Specifically, I really do recognize Loose Lips, but apparently Lark is as well, and I don't recognize her at all, as well as these goons here. So the Street Demons are from the Arkham Knight game. These are the bikers, same with the reinforcements, and then everyone else who isn't a biker is from Arkham Origins. So this is the box set that I was talking about before. Originally, all the ones here, this guy in the yellow, this guy here, Loose Lips, Lark, and then this guy up here with the helmet, they were all in the Crime Lord box set. I kind of went through this in my last video. And then finally we had the Street Demons here, these 3 biker guys, and then the Penguin himself. They were in a separate box. They haven't been for sale in a long time. They've been re-released as part of this big bundle here. So whether that's a good or bad thing, it's up to you. Leave it up to your judgment. It's good for me personally because I don't have either of those, and now I'm going to have both. But obviously if you've bought the Crime Lord box in anticipation for the Penguin's big release, because we kind of had a bit of an idea that it was happening eventually this year, then yeah, unfortunately it just means that you're going to be missing out on the Street Demon guys and this Penguin model. But let's look into their stats then, and we will see how they look in practice. Okay, so here we go. We've got the Penguin, Oswald Chesterfield Cobblepot. He's 30mm base. He's got the leader rank as well, affiliation Penguin, of course, and he's 77 reputation. So he's just a little bit more expensive than the other version of the Penguin. He has 8 willpower, 7 endurance. He's got 3 attack, 3 defense, 5+ strength die, and 8 inches of movement. So again, in terms of core stats, he's just not one of the more combat-oriented characters, nor would you expect him to be. He's just the Penguin. He has brass knuckles, which is double stun, which is very nice actually. He's got a lighter and cigar, which has crit fire. So basically that can set you on fire if it crits. I really like that. I'm a big fan of that. And it deals a single stun damage as well. So you can basically roll your luck. You know, you can try and roll for the crit there. Although I do think that 9 times out of 10 you're probably just going to want to use the brass knuckles. So then we have the Lord of Business trait as well, which is an extra $500, just like the previous Penguin. We have Mob, just like the previous Penguin as well. Now this version version comes with Order, which allows him to force an allied model to place a suspect marker if they're in line of sight of him using a special action. That's very good. Okay, and then we have Pickpocket, which allows him to perform a manipulate action to target a KO model in contact, and if he does so, he gets to steal, and steal allows you to look at your enemy's hand of objective cards, and then you can basically force them to discard one. So it's really, really strong. It lets you see what your opponent's up to. I'm a really big fan of that, although using a manipulate action to target a KO model, I'd prefer to have the steal trait basically on a weapon, but this isn't too bad as well. I think Cassandra Cain in the Birds of Prey box has this, although I don't use it very often with her, I must admit. Primary target here, during your model's activation, during this model's rather activation, you can treat one enemy suspect marker as a friendly suspect marker. That's very good for the purposes of scoring certain cards. He has Protect Me as well, so no need to necessarily bring a bodyguard model. Just make sure that there are plenty of models around the Penguin that can take the damage for him. Basically, if he's hit by an attack, he can make an effort to nominate a friendly model within 4 inches and force them to take the attack instead. So you want to have a bunch of guys around Penguin making sure that he's always protected and he's not going to go out to an errant batarang. Then he has Small, which gives him +1 defense against enemy attacks. That's very, very good because he's only got 3 defense at the best of times. So getting +1 to that is very good. Then finally, he has Underworld King as well. Obviously, Underworld King is the exact same as the previous Penguin model that we went through. It gives him that side deck again, which is very specific to the Penguin, and it's really, really, really good. I'm a really big fan of that, and it's very thematic. Then he has In the End. So let's have a look at that. Right, so there's a lot of stuff going on here. Number one, so let's go through them one by one. So first of all, you can spend a business counter basically to flip face up a face down Underworld King card immediately. So Underworld King, whenever you use the side deck of cards, the cards are face up, and then whenever you spend the resource on them, they go face down. And then during the recount phase, you can spend a business counter to put them back face up and be able to use them again during the game. Now, it looks like you can do this out of that recount phase using In the End. The other Penguin didn't have that, so this is specific then to him. It doesn't seem super useful, unless I guess you want to use the same card twice, you know, if you want to use valuable commodities. Probably not that card, but I'm sure there's other cards out there you might be tempted to use twice. Otherwise, you can spend a business counter to basically move a friendly model who's got the henchman rank up to 6 inches, so long as they're within Inspire range. So maybe if you were keeping them around for that Protect Me trait, and then suddenly you weren't in any danger at all, you're like, right, go out there and place down a suspect marker for me. That's pretty good. It's always nice to have a little burst of mobility. I think definitely it's probably worthwhile spending a business counter for limited mobility here and there. When it's necessary, it's necessary. Or you can cancel a card used as a resource. So basically, this would allow you to get an equivalency of the Exhaustive Planner trait if you spend enough business counters. So if they're spending a card, you know, that costs them 2, you'll have to spend 2 business counters to prevent them from using that card. That's really, really good. That's very strong, and it gives you a real reason to hoard those business counters, actually, just in case there's a nasty card played by your opponent. Or you can give up to X attack or defense markers, so long as the model is got a henchman rank and is Inspire range. So that's within 8 inches of this model. That's very, very good. Sometimes you'll want to just, you know, go for broke and have that extra attack. And then otherwise, if your model, you know, you've got an allied model and he has the valuable commodities bag on him and Batman's about to punch him out, maybe we want to give him a few defense markers there just to protect him. That's very good as well. So I like that. Finally, it lets you use a free special action for your leader, for the boss of your crew. That's really strong, right? I'm trying to think. So let's have a wee look here. So that means you could potentially use Mob and Order during the same activation if your Penguin is if the Penguin is your leader. So that's very good. I really like that. I'm a really big fan of that, actually. So in the end, a little bit complicated, but you know, it's one of those things very specific to this version of the Penguin. I'm a really big fan of that. So what this guy lacks in killing power, he makes up for in traits. And then finally, he has Criminal Empire. Let's have a look at that. Wow, okay, so basically, whenever you're placing the sewer markers at the setup phase of the game, then each player must also place 1 criminal marker down at least 8 inches away from all deployment zones. And then each time a friendly model of yours makes a manipulate action within 4 inches of a Criminal Empire marker, you gain 1 business counter. Wow, okay, so this version of the Penguin looks like he's all about those business counters, very much leaning into the business counter side of things, using a lot of those specific mechanics, which is kind of awesome, actually. I think this version of the Penguin is probably my favorite compared to the other one. The other one is definitely a lot more killy, and of course gets access to the duck vehicle, which is really strong. So the other version of the Penguin looks like he's going to play really well with the Penguins, but this version of the Penguin is going to play really well with the sort of business counter mechanics. I really like this version of the Penguin. I like the sort of seedy version of the Penguin with the cigar, and I like the version of him where he's just like a wheeler and dealer, right? Like he's just selling, he's buying. He's just up to no good. I'm a really big fan of that version of the Penguin, so I really like this version. I'm a big fan of that, and I think he's definitely worth the reputation. He brings a lot of interesting traits, and a lot of thematic faction mechanics. He doesn't have a lot of attacks, but he brings a lot of mechanics that are specific to the Penguin, and it really kind of reminds me of the Joker a little bit, where Joker brings Chaos Agent that's so specific to the Joker crew, so thematic to the Joker crew, that the Penguin instead brings the business counters and the side deck and things like that, and he really plays around with those, so I'm a big fan of that. Nice, I like that. Okay, here we have Loose Lips, whose real name is Ricky LeBlanc. That's great. And then he's on a 30mm base. He has the Henchman rank. He is affiliated with Penguin. He has 50 reputation and $200. He comes with 6 willpower, 7 endurance, 3 attack, 3 defense, 4 plus strength attack, 8 inches of movement, and of course 3 special as well. I don't normally call it the specials. Usually it's 3. If it's not, I'll let you know. And then he has a shotgun, which is a double blood and a stun, single rate of fire, 3 ammunition with firearm, medium range, which is 16 inches, and then he has the assault keyword as well, so that's a bit of a buff to this shotgun. Just like Batista, this shotgun didn't originally have assault, and now it does, so that's really good. It means that he'll be able to get off those hits with this more often. You know, oftentimes if you move, you're losing 2 dice, so using assault there will be really useful, because he's only got a rate of fire of 1. Then he has the knife as well, which is a single blood and sharp, which allows him to reroll field strength dice. That's fine. And then he's got some more traits here, actually, I think, compared to the previous version of him. So this is the criminal keyword. That's fine. He has Informer, which is very nice. If you bring him into your crew, you're going to get 1 additional pass on activation marker, and that's really useful, because that will eventually, if you don't spend it, then it gives you +1 to your next initiative roll, so very strong. And then he's got Mobster as well, which gives him basically, well, first of all, it'll allow him to actually be activated by the mob trait of Penguin, which is really relevant now, but also he also gets an additional attack die when attacking a model that is outnumbered by him and his boys. Then he has one of the boys as well, which allows him to benefit from the Inspire roll exactly as if he held the henchman rank. That's great. I actually think I said he was a henchman at the beginning. He's not, he's a sidekick, but he's got one of the boys, which I think is new. I think that's taken into account the fact that the henchman rank is so strong in 3rd edition when compared to the 2nd edition, so him having that is really good. And then he has Order as well, which allows him to order a friendly model within line of sight, allows them to place a suspect marker there. That's very good as well. And then finally he has Smuggler, which is when he is recruited, its crew can buy magazines and radio equipment at half the usual cost. I don't know if the Penguin crew can buy radios. I kind of imagine they can. I haven't looked at their equipment list, but being able to buy the ammunition at half cost is very good as well. So very strong. I think that Order and one of the boys are both new. Everything else is the same except for the assault keyword on the shotgun. So I like what's happened with Loose Lips. He's definitely been made a lot more viable, a lot more competitive, and this is just straight buff because he was 50 rep and $200 previously before, so he's just gotten new stuff, so he's only gotten stronger, and I'm a really big fan of that. I like Loose Lips, and I hope that he gets dropped into many a Christmas tree during my games in the future. Okay, and here we have Lark. She is unknown, 30mm base. She's got the henchman rank. Her affiliation, of course, is Penguin. She's 40 reputation and $300, and she has 5 willpower, 6 endurance, and she has 4 attack, 4 defense, 5 plus strength die, and 10 inches of movement, so she's quite a bit faster. Nice defense, nice attack, although the willpower and endurance isn't great. She's got an automatic gun, which is 3 rate of fire, and has a blood stun damage profile. She's got the firearm trait there, which gives her 2 plus strength die. Light as well, which allows her to fire even when in base contact with an enemy model. And finally, she has short ranges too, so not a great range there, only 8 inches before she starts taking penalties. I think that's all the same. Nothing has changed there for her, including her traits. Actually, it all looks the same. So she does have bodyguard, so I mean, I suppose if you don't want to take the stun damage on the Penguin, or if you have the other version of the Penguin that comes with the big base, then this bodyguard trait will be very useful, allowing you to protect your leader. She has Cruel, which is here, and it allows her basically to remove a KO model from play as a casualty, and this is really strong, especially if you're knocking people out. And as I saw previously, she has Reinforced Gloves, which is double stun damage, so you probably will be knocking people out, and then you'll be able to use Cruel in order to kill them. And then she has Technique here as well, which allows her to inflict the Paralyze effect on her opponents. Wow, that's really good. So she has to actually deal the damage, okay? And then she applies the Paralyze effect, and what the Paralyze effect does is it gives a -2 to the defense of the model that has been affected, and prevents that model from performing any actions during its turn. So that's really, really good. I mean, if you got this off on someone like Batman, you know, you could very feasibly kill Batman in that single activation, you know, after Lark, basically with a couple of goons. So, Paralyze is a really strong effect in this game, and it's very, very dangerous for any big model, any big, strong model really wants to look out for this. Now, she does need to make the attack, so basically effort and use your 4 attack to try and get that onto some really good models of your opponent. Then she comes with Security Thief. She's within 4 inches of your crew's boss. Enemy models suffer a -1 penalty to attack rolls against that boss. Although what you'll find is that more than likely, because she has bodyguard, your opponent's probably just going to try and take her out anyway, because she's just going to effort and take the damage, so they may as well just go for Lark. But still, all the same, that little added dissuasion is pretty good. So this model's probably just going to hang around the Penguin and beat up anybody that comes near him. This is basically the sort of fist of the Penguin, right? Penguin doesn't have any good attacks on his own character card. This is his weapon here. This is basically, think of this like equipment. And actually, so as much as there hasn't been any change to the traits or anything like that, she's actually got a little bit of a buff. Her reputation cost is down from what was, it used to be 42 reputation, now it's down to 40 reputation, so that's nice. Just a little wee buff there to make her more viable. Okay, and here we have Penguin Elite Thug. He has the rank of henchman. His name is Mason. He's on a 30mm base, and he has the Penguin affiliation there. He's 35 reputation. He is 5 willpower, 6 endurance. He's got 3 attack, 4 defense. That's quite pretty nice. He's got 4+ strength die to attack and 10 inches of movement, so he's surprisingly fast considering he's wearing all that armor, and he has nice 4 defense there, so I like that. I'm a big fan of that. He has Electric Baton, which is a double stun weapon, and he's got electric on that, which allows him basically to have crit stunned, and stunned is really good. If you get stunned, basically you're not able to do anything during your activation other than move with that model, so you really don't want to get stunned with a good model at all. And he gets the reroll out against any bot, cybernetic, or robots, basically. And then the baton also comes with Handy, which allows him to reroll field attack, which is really nice. And then he has Mechanical too, which gives him the ability to hit on a 3+, so that's good, that's fine. And then he has the Follow Me trait, which allows him to choose a friendly henchman model and give +4 inches of movement to a friendly henchman within 4 inches of him. So that's very nice. You know, gives a model a nice bit of movement. Maybe it'll be used in some of those models with only 8 inches of movement. He's got football gear as well, which means that he forces the enemy model, if they've got sharp or heavy weapon special rules, they don't get the benefit from that against him because he's got that armor on there. Then he has Hardened as well, so it allows him to choose basically the damage type that he takes. If he takes stun damage, he can transform that into blood, and likewise back and forth. It's only 1 damage marker though, he gets to change that way. And finally he's got Mobster as well, so he gets to make that extra attack if chosen by the Penguin, and he also gets to roll that additional attack die, so he's okay. He's a nice fighter, which is something the Penguin is sort of going to need, considering that he doesn't have really any attacks on his own. He's not really like one of those crews where your leader is going in really hot and heavy like Ra's al Ghul. This is the Penguin we're talking about. He's going to need to rely on these thugs, and this guy is apparently his elite thug, so good luck to this guy. It's just okay, I think. Not the most impressive model in the world, but then, you know, not bad either. I think he's just fine. Okay, and here we have Penguin Lieutenant, also known as Big A. Okay, that's a great name, and he's got a 40mm base. He has the henchman rank, Penguin affiliation, of course. He's 41 reputation, which I think is a buff. I think he used to be at 47 reputation. He has 5 willpower and 7 endurance. Ooh, not a fan of that willpower considering the amount of rep that he costs. He's got 4 attack, 3 defense, 4+ strength die, 8 inches of movement, so very good attack, but not great defense there. Creeping up into the 40s there, you start to sort of maybe hope for 4 defense. He has the biker jacket, like many of the others. Basically means that enemies never get the benefit from the sharp weapon special rule. So basically, I mean, so far the theme with Penguin has been don't bring a knife to fight this guy. And then he has reinforced gloves, gives him double stun damage there. He has large, which allows him to ignore up to 1 stun damage per attack suffered. He has mobster as well, so we've gone through that before. He has take cover, which is nice. It basically allows you to give a henchman within 4 inches of this model 2 defense markers using a special action, so that's nice. And then he has taunt as well, which allows him to choose 1 enemy model within 8 inches and reduce their defense skills by 2, though it gives them their attack gets buffed by +1, so long as you perform an opposed willpower roll against that model and they fail. It's pretty good, to be honest. If it goes off, it goes off, and minusing 2 off your opponent's defense is super powerful, super strong. Whereas obviously giving them the +1 attack really isn't as, you know, is not relevant, because 9 times out of 10, you're probably going to use it against a model that's already activated that turn, right? And you're just going to want to kill them. He is okay. I'm not like super impressed by him either. I think he's just fine. I think he's a nice hardy fighter. So far we've looked at these henchmen that are more elite maybe than some of the other guys. They're a little bit more expensive and they're bringing some interesting traits here and there. They seem to be okay so far. 8 inches is going to hurt this guy, but you know, we've just seen that the previous model that we looked at had the ability to give him +4 inches of movement if needed, so it's not bad at all. Obviously they're paying some premiums in terms of their reputation and things like that for biker jackets and such, but you know, he's grand. He's got 4 attack, which is nice, and he might be able to get a good shot in here and there. My main concern with this character is that he only has 5 willpower and 3 defense, so he will go down pretty hard if he does get focused. Okay, and here we have Penguin Thug 1. His name is Shane. He's on a 30mm base. He's got the henchman rank, he's got the Penguin affiliation, and 16 reputation is his cost. That's more like it. He has 4 willpower, 5 endurance, 3 attack, 3 defense, 4+ strength die, as well as 8 inches of movement, so not bad at all there in terms of his defense. 4 willpower, 5 endurance is pretty good actually for 16 reputation. 3 is pretty good for 16 reputation as well. He has machete, which is single blood, and it's got the heavy trait, gives him +1 to his strength die rolls, and sharp as well, which allows him to re-roll that. He's got the laser sight special action. Okay, basically allows him to illuminate a model that is in line of sight. That's really good, and actually sometimes you'll want to give this guy an audacity marker just to get that off, so I really like that. He also has Mobster too, which allows him to get +1 additional attack die whenever he is outnumbering an enemy model, and then he also has Repairman as well, which allows him to repair a vehicle, basically like perhaps the massive dock car that one of the Penguin models comes with. I think is probably the intention with this one. So Repairman's actually kind of useful on the Penguin Thug 1. Usually it's not that great, but it's actually kind of useful on him. But definitely laser sight is kind of amazing. I actually really like this model, so it kind of shows you where my tastes sort of lie. I'm kind of like on, you know, all these kind of 35 41 reputation models, you know, they've got 4 defense, 4 attack, whatever. But with this guy I'm like, wow, 3 and 4 for willpower and endurance, and he's only 16 reputation. This is amazing. That's just my stats, how I run him. The laser sight is really strong in my opinion. Lighting up your opponent somewhere, you know, it doesn't have to be in line of sight, so you can light them up, you can see them there, everyone can see them on the board, and then they'll just get shot, right? And hopefully you've brought a couple of guns to make use of this, so that's pretty good. And not to mention, the machete isn't too bad either. He's got 3 attack, and then it's got heavy and sharp, so he's probably going to hit with his strength die and get a little wee blood in there, so that's not too bad at all. But at the end of the day, you're probably just going to use this guy to run around putting down suspect markers, and that's not bad at all for 16 reputation. Okay, and here is Penguin Thug 2. His name is Tanner. He's on a 30mm base. He's got the henchman rank, Penguin affiliation, 24 reputation, and $600. We know what that means. 4 willpower, 5 endurance, 3 attack, 3 defense, 4+ strength die, 8 inches of movement, and he has an assault rifle that is a triple blood, 3 rate of fire, 2 ammunition, firearm. Yes, so this guy could basically come with 0 traits, and I would be all over this character. He has the brutal trait though, which gives him the ability to score a critical on a 5 or 6, which is very nice. And then he has Mobster too, which gives him that additional attack die. And then finally he has Street Guy, which allows him to force the attacker to reroll 1 successful hit whenever he benefits from the cover rule. But obviously the main thing about this guy is going to be the assault rifle there. That's the reason you're bringing him. That's the reason why you're paying 24 reputation and $600 for that amazing gun that will be able to knock models off the board like it's nobody's business. And the thing about this is, first of all, it doesn't have a range, so he's basically never taking -1 for his range attack. You know, he's not short range, medium range, or long range. He has anything. He can shoot anything. And then you pair that with Penguin Thug 1, who can light up somebody on the board with his lantern, with his laser sight. This guy is gonna get put to work. So you can put him on a rooftop, stand him up there, and then open fire on whatever it is the Penguin Thug 1 illuminates. So enjoy that for the first game that you play with Penguin. And then I have no doubt that if you play with the same opponent, they're not gonna let you get that off ever again. So really do enjoy that the first game that you play with the Penguin, because it's gonna be a lot of fun. Combine that with the taunt from the other Penguin model, and yeah, wow, that's great. So I really like this model. This model is really strong. It goes without saying, he's probably going to be the first thing that your opponent wants to sort of key into and try and take down. That's no problem. You've got plenty of models running around, so yeah, this is great. A big fan of this model. In terms of stats, nothing has changed for this guy, which is fine because he is perfect where he is. Okay, and here we have the Street Demons one. His name is Grumble. So for these models going forward, all these Street Demon guys, I don't have previous character cards for them, so I don't know whether or not anything's changed, but no doubt it probably has, to be honest, because these guys are quite a bit older than the previous models we've gone through. So his rank is a henchman. He's Penguin affiliation, of course. He's got 27 reputation. He's $150. He has 5 willpower, 6 endurance, 3 attack, 3 defense, 5+ strength die, 8 inches of movement, so he's pretty slow. He's coming with a shiv there, which is a single blood handy weapon, which allows him to reroll field attack dice, and he has a petrol bomb. So you can see there the model himself is lighting that petrol bomb with a big cigar. So not the brightest tool in the shed, but very cool pose. The petrol bomb deals a single blood damage, and it has a rate of fire of 1. It's a mechanical die, so it's 3+ to hit with the strength, short range, and also deals fire. So it's okay. I'm actually surprised that it doesn't have a template there, but there we are. He has the biker jacket as well, which means that a knife isn't going to work on him, and he has mine. Okay, so whenever he places a suspect, if he uses the special action, he can designate that as a mine, and then whenever a model moves within 2 inches of it, you can roll 1d6 and remove, and on a result of 3+, so 50-50 chance, that model suffers double blood. So double blood is nice, but it's a lot of setup for this, so I'm not sure how great it is. I guess, I mean, if you're putting down suspect markers, you may as well just do this anyway if you've got an audacity, but I'm not sure how often you're going to want to spend an audacity on that. I guess maybe if you're against the cops, although that said, it's within 2 inches, right? So if they have the detective trait, they'll be able to reveal it. It's kind of sad. Okay, and then we have mobster there as well, which basically allows him to get an additional attack die. So I'm not super impressed by this guy. 27 reputation is a pretty tall ask, I think, for a model that has a handy shiv. I'm not super chuffed on this guy, to be honest. His name's Grumble. That's probably the best thing about him. 5 willpower, 6 endurance is okay for 27 reputation, but otherwise, except for that, I guess he's all about the mine special action, and I'm not really a big fan of that. I don't know if I'm ever going to want to give this guy an audacity just to use that action. I'm trying to think of what crews you go up against where they're going to want to reveal a lot of your suspect markers, and the main one blaring out to me, and maybe it's because I play against this crew a lot, is the Batman crew, but they've got access to so many detectives that you're not going to get this off very often. So yeah, remains to be seen. He's okay. Honestly, I think if this guy's petrol bomb had it been like maybe a double blood weapon with explosive template and the throwing special rule, I think I would have preferred him like that, but as it is, I don't think the petrol bomb really does enough. Okay, and here we have the Street Demons 2 model, which his name is Simmons. He's got 30mm base, he's got the henchman rank, affiliation with Penguin, 21 reputation, and $200, 4 willpower, 6 endurance, 2 attack, 2 defense, 5+ strength, 8 inches of movement. The attack and defense aren't that great. He's got a crossbow though with 3 blood damage, which is nice, a single rate of fire, 3 ammunition, and then he has mechanical, which allows him to hit on a 3+, and reload, which means that he can only attack every other round. So basically, if he attacks, he has to spend the next turn reloading his weapon. So 3 blood's really good as long as you don't move, right? Like, so if you ever move, you're getting 0 on your rate of fire, because it's only got a rate of fire of 1. It doesn't have assault at all. But that said, if he stands still and manages to get a shot off, maybe, I don't know, one of your models have lit up an enemy model on the board, this crossbow going off could deal a lot of damage if it gets through. Now let's have a look at his traits. He's got the biker jacket as well, which is a consistent theme. He has the mobster trait, which is fine. Again, he has shooter, which allows him to basically ignore cover against models within 8 inches. This is going to be really important for this crossbow, because, you know, getting a single die knocked off your roll is actually devastating and will lose you half your attack potential. And then hold them still, which I don't think I've ever seen this one before. Basically, when he targets an outnumbered model, he gets +1 to hit and bleed 2. Ooh, I really like that, because the Penguin crew is really incentivized to outnumber, right? Because they're all coming with the mobster trait, so they're all going to want to roll those additional dice. So basically, you want to goon up on somebody, and now this guy wants to goon up from a distance. So I'm a big fan of that. I really like this trait. And when you're only rolling 2 dice to hit, I think it's really important that you get those +1s in. So I really like this model, even with 2 defense and 2 attack. I think this guy's pretty legit, especially for 21 reputation. So yeah, I think I really like this guy. Street Demons 2. Simmons is pretty strong, and I think I'll probably take him in quite a lot of Penguin crews in future. Okay, and then finally we have Street Demons 3, whose name is Reaver. He's got a 30mm base. He has the rank of henchman, Penguin affiliation, and he has 19 reputation, so cheap and cheerful. He's got 4 willpower, 5 endurance, 3 attack, 2 defense, 4+ strength die, and 8 inches of movement. So not a great defense there, but only 19 reputation, so it's not too bad. He brings a maul with him, which is a stun blood damage weapon. It's got handy, which allows him to reroll field attack dice, and heavy, which gives him +1 to his strength die rolls. That's okay. I'd rather honestly deal either double stun or double blood. Dealing a mixture of both isn't good, but for 19 reputation, you know, he's basically another body on the board. He has the biker jacket as well. What else is new? He brings the monster trait as well, and then he has tireless too, which allows him to spend a special action to get +2 to his basic movement speed. So he's very slow, he doesn't have a great weapon, and he doesn't have very good defense, but on the other hand, he's 19 reputation, so he's probably one of those models where if you can squeeze him in, you probably will. Although I do have a suspicion off the top of my head, but I think that there are thugs from the Back to Gotham box that are probably a little bit stronger than this guy. I'm thinking Thug 1 occupies a very similar space, or Thug 4 with the axe as well occupies a very similar space of $0 funding and low reputation costs, and I think they might be honestly a little bit better than this guy. But if you want to stay thematic, this guy is the guy to go with, and handy and heavy isn't too bad, honestly. This guy might be pretty good against enemy henchmen, honestly. He might be able to punch basically on his weight level, but he will not be able to punch up at all. But that's sometimes all you want from a henchman. So that is all of the Penguin Underworld King box set looked over there. I hope you enjoyed that. So you can see all the new Penguin releases are here. They are out for June, and hopefully will be indeed begun shipped on July, midway through July. Looking forward to that, though I'm still looking forward to my black mask that has yet to arrive. So what's everyone's opinions on the release set this month? Do you like them? Do you not like them? Was this what you were hoping for with the Penguin? What do you think about some of the moving some of the models around? What do you think of the new Emperor Penguin model and the Penguin Associates, and now as well the release of the Arkham Knight Penguin in the Penguin Underworld King box? Is this something Knight models should be doing in the future, do you think? Should we see more re-releases of very old models bundled alongside more relevant models? I'd really like to see your thoughts in the comments below, so please feel free to share. And as always, if you enjoyed this content, please do throw a thumbs up onto the video. Give us a little like there. It helps us with the YouTube algorithm. And as well as that, do subscribe to the channel if you do want to see more Batman miniature game content in future. So until the next video then, I'll see you then, and goodbye.